New School. All right, welcome back to the Noob School. John Sterling here, and today I've got a relatively new friend, but a good friend, Courtney Beasley. Welcome,
John.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
A little Southern hospitality for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's perfect. What do you
good.
consider a new friend?
Well, someone that I haven't known for like 25 years.
Okay, I was going to say.
Yeah.
We've known each other for over a year. So.
Yeah. Most of my guests are people that I go back, a long way with, and
That's
so
awesome.
it's nice to meet a new friend.
That's right. Well,
Yeah.
it speaks volumes about the way that you're able to maintain friendships. So that's awesome.
I do like having friends. I'm sure you do too. But
important.
Courtney, as you can tell, at a relatively young age, she's achieved what most people are kind of shooting for, which is she's got her own business. She's got the Kobe Agency, and she's become an expert at digital marketing, social media, marketing in general, and at various kind of stops along the way. And she has parlayed that into her own business, where she is it's a part-time CMO, a fractional CMO.
That's
Fractional
right.
CMO. So for somebody, let's just say like the Noob School, for example, who can't afford Courtney full-time, I could get her for so many hours a month, 10 hours a month or something to help me with my website and strategy, which
That's
is
right.
very important, right?
That's
Because
right,
we don't
yeah.
want just someone just to give me a new website. Someone's got to help me figure out what it is I'm trying to do.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So we'll talk more about what a fractional CMO is as we go forward. But for the meantime, we'll follow our normal format, which is to establish that you've already kind of at a good place. But let's back up, to when you started,
Yeah.
and figure out the things you did to get to this point.
Sure.
Other people
That
might
sounds
follow
good.
it. So I know this. I know you grew up all over the country.
I did.
Now, why was that?
You have to ask my parents about that. But grew up moving coast to coast.
Okay.
My parents both grew up moving around quite a bit. They actually met when they were 12 years old. So I
Wow.
think that's part of like the foundations. And then they moved away from each other, or very early on, just a couple of years after meeting. So they had moved back and forth between Ohio and Missouri. I was born in Missouri. My family lived mostly in Missouri and Ohio, but I've lived in Atlanta and out in California a little bit.
Yeah.
And then on my own, spent some time in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And then they actually came down here to Greenville. I was living in Chicago. I graduated school, moved up
Yeah.
to Chicago, 10 years there. And then I followed my family here to Greenville right at the very beginning of the pandemic.
And so your family, peripatetic family, moved to Greenville. Why did they pick Greenville?
They did a lot of research. They wanted a lifestyle that was a little bit more flexible than what you can have in Ohio, where you get like 3 to 4 months of nice weather per year.
Okay.
They love the mountains. We love the beach. We would always come down to the Carolinas to vacation, as there are so many people from here from Ohio. So I think we're not alone in this by any means.
Yeah.
But they were clued into Greenville by a friend of one of my sisters, actually a family friend. And they came and visited a handful of times and decided that this is where they wanted to move our family.
Well, I'm thankful. That's
yeah,
great.
likewise.
That's great.
Awesome.
And so after this moving around, you ended up going to the University of Dayton.
That's right.
And what did you study there?
So I graduated with a degree in communications and a
Okay.
triple minor in international business, marketing, and political science.
So did that require a lot more credits to get a triple?
It does. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So I actually started out in biochem. So
Yeah.
I thought that I wanted to be a pediatrician.
Yeah.
And then by way of multiple things occurring in college, I just decided that that wasn't going to be the right path for me. So I wanted to still be able to graduate in 4 years. So I went into the School of Communication, which was in the Arts and Sciences
Okay.
program, so I could still graduate on time. I took some extra courses. I was on campus for a couple of summers, and then I did a study abroad program that helped me to pick up some things in like political science, which was helpful.
And where was that?
Where did I study abroad?
Yeah.
In Greece.
In Greece?
Yeah,
Okay.
I spent a summer in Greece.
Did you learn how to speak any Greek?
And the Efkaristo and Parakalo are pretty much all I have.
What are those?
It's like please and thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And you can say ouzo, probably.
And Opa. Yeah.
Opa. What's opa mean? More?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's like
Okay.
salute. Yeah.
Yeah. Ouzo will give you a headache.
It sure will. Yeah, I stayed away from that stuff
Good
as much
for
as
you.
I could.
I can't tell you how many people who went to college, and I'll say Where'd you go? And they'll say, I went to Dayton. I said, what was your favorite part of going to college in Dayton? They'll say, my study abroad.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere. I'm like,
Yeah.
why don't more kids just go study at like University of Amsterdam?
Absolutely. I wish I
know?
would have realized how much of an opportunity that could have been
Yeah.
earlier in life. And I think kids now, if presented that as an opportunity, I think take it more often than not. There's actually a group I'm working with, and one of the guy's daughter is going to do her master's in Spain here in a couple of weeks. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I wish I would have considered those things because, study abroad was absolutely one of the most impactful things that I did while in school.
Yeah.
Really whet my appetite, too, for travel that I would do later in life,
Yeah.
which is really important to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Me
too.
Of doing that. We did a podcast recently with someone who did the round the world year. He did a year gap year, and
That would be awesome.
and just all the people he met and the stories, and you think about that person going to a job interview versus this person who didn't do it. It's not even close.
Yeah.
This one has so much more knowledge of the world.
Absolutely. Just the way you can learn things from different cultures that you can bring back to your own community to enrich the communities you're a part of.
Yeah.
That's the main reason that I like to travel. And you're totally right. I do wish I would have done a gap year.
Yeah.
But it's so scary at that age. Gosh, youth is wasted on the young, right?
Yeah. Yeah, my daughter did it. And
Oh, yeah.
I worked on her for years to do it, and she finally did it. But she was before college, so
Yeah.
she did. She was 17 or 18, and one of them was a pretty. It was outward bound, so you were kind of under supervision.
Yeah.
So that wasn't that dangerous.
That's nice.
The other was going to a big college in Salamanca, Spain.
Oh, wow.
That was like just crazy party, and
Sure.
she had a great time.
I'm sure she had a blast. Yeah.
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 All right, so let's keep moving.
Okay.
So you went to Dayton, you did some postgraduate work at Northwestern,
You did.
and then you made I would say, one of your most important decisions is you went to Chicago and you started working for Groupon.
Yeah.
And so you went to work for, an Uber, an Apple,
Yeah.
a Groupon, somebody who's like new and really growing fast. You're probably attracting the best and brightest people to try to make it work, right?
Yeah. So I was very early on, Groupon. So I started there in 2010 prior to their IPO. So I was there pre, during, and post IPO. And I was in the 600s of employee number there. So they were hiring intros. I mean, they were really hiring a lot of people because they recognized the need for the sales base, which is really where I got my career start, was in sales. Because I graduated not pandemic, but the recession. And no one was hiring people for marketing roles if you didn't already have experience. So
Right.
it was a little bit of a catch-22.
Yeah.
You really didn't have a lot of opportunity. So ended up going to Groupon, which at the time I truly thought was one of the worst things that I could have done for my career. I did, and it's crazy because I look back now and there's still not only experiences that are exceptionally relevant to the work that I do today, because obviously the marketing and sales relationship is so intrinsically important to every size of an organization if you have both functions. But then you also have the people that I was able to interface with during that time who have gone on to be leaders in tech institutions across the country, across the globe, that I've been able to maintain relationships with in some capacity, and it really was an incredible experience. And I was there so early on that roles that then became divided up into several different individuals on a team. So from building prospect list to doing the dials to setting up the deals to writing some of the content, all of those things ended up being individual functions. Whereas when I went in and launched the territory of Napa Sonoma, which, another side note, developed my love for wine.
Yeah.
But I, got the opportunity to really see the end-to-end function of how to get something like a promotion to work for a business. It was a really incredible experience very early on that I couldn't wait to get out of at the time, but couldn't be more grateful to have had the experience now.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I just can't tell you how important I think it is for what you did, but for any young person starting out, if you can launch yourself with one of these really fast-growing, interesting companies that's hiring a lot of smart people and trying to do, you're going to learn so much so fast. You're probably not going to get paid that much. You're probably going to have to work too hard. It can be all kind of horrible things. Probably poor management, but you'll learn from it. And the guy who started Salesforce, Mark Benioff, his early years, he was working for Larry Ellison at Oracle, and he worked for Steve Jobs at Apple.
Exactly.
And it was no big deal for him to go start his own thing. Because he saw it, So
very true.
So that was like 10 years of work. How many years?
Oh, I was only there for 2 years.
2 years, okay.
Yeah, I was there for 2 years, and then I was in an agency for almost 9 years.
And you went to a big agency called Walker Sands.
Well, it was a very small agency when I started there, but now they're a very big agency.
Okay, so you made them big.
I tried to, yeah.
Now, what did you do for them?
Yeah. So really unique experience from an agency life, because usually you're account executive, you're kind of working with some of the clients, you're either that or you're in some type of an expert track where you are specifically focused on one particular vertical within marketing. But I was incredibly lucky. I was hired originally there as a salesperson. So they got me out of Groupon and gave me the opportunity. And at the time, I really wanted to get into marketing. I knew that that was the path for me. I just felt very, passionate about it and driven towards it. And so I wasn't sure I was going to take the role. And I'll never forget, I was on vacation with my family and I was talking to my dad, and he was like, Court, this at least gets you into a marketing environment where you have more opportunities to show the value that you could provide on a marketing side of the world. Yeah. So I was 6 months into the role, still pounding the pavements, making, smiling and dialing, and really wasn't going anywhere. We were an agency of 16 people in a, crowded agency environment in Chicago, and we weren't really differentiating ourselves in a way that people understood why I would be calling them. I was 6 months in and a foot and a half out the door, and I just wanted to, I thought I was going to go back to school, finish all of my prereqs for med school. I had all of my programming set up to go and do that when I had an incredibly fateful conversation with the president at the time, now CEO, who he said, we see potential in what you're attempting to do, but what is it that you actually want to do? And I said, well, I want to do marketing, and I think it would really help us. And he said, well, what does that mean to you? And at the time, it was very tactical, because I was, young 20s and was like, well, our website, we need to update that a little bit. It looks very antiquated, and I'm sure antiquated is not the word I used at the time. And we could use some case studies, because people don't really understand what we do. And what about a newsletter? What could we do something like that? So that's really where it started. And it wasn't even 4 years later, I was starting to build a team around me that was focused specifically on the growth of the company. So, and the interesting thing there is, because when I had started as a sales team member, there was a head of sales, but we didn't really have a sales process. So I was tasked with building out the sales funnel, the sales process. I bought and implemented Salesforce and Pardot. That was right at the beginning of their partnership. So I was really doing sales enablement, even though I was running sales, and then starting to do marketing at a very early stage of when I joined the organization. So handled all of that, transitioned into a full-time marketing role. A couple of years later, they let me hire my first person. And then when she ended up moving on to something else, it provided the opportunity for me to restructure the team. And as of today, there are, I want to say they have 4 full-time marketers, 2 sales team members, and the company has achieved 20 to 40% growth year over year, every year since. So 10 times on Inc. 5000, fastest growing companies. I think they are now the 5th largest B2B tech agency in the US.
You help them create a stronger effort to promote the company. And most of their people were out there working for clients.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yep, that's exactly right. So I was on the corporate function. I sat internally, worked very closely with who then became our heads of finance and operations. All of those roles actually came later, which I just say complete hats off to Mike and Ken and the whole team who recognized the need for bringing someone in for marketing, the agency itself. It was not me. It was just the fact that they actually dedicated resources and time to recognizing the importance of focusing internally, because truly a lot of companies who do marketing don't do it well for themselves.
Right.
And we would have conversations and get up at bat all the time with companies who said, we actually really like the marketing, the fact that you guys do these things for yourselves. We did so many events, we did speaking engagements, we were involved, we did so much content. Our content brought in millions of dollars in opportunities every single year. So there were a lot of things we were able to really brand ourselves around. that built trust and credibility in the spaces where we were looking to grow.
Okay. So far, you've got a pretty broad experience across the country, kind of moving around and seeing the country. You've got a communications degree from Dayton and some marketing stuff at Northwestern. You got the startup experience at Groupon.
That's right.
And the sales experience, which is important because you understand a little bit about salespeople now. And now you've done this thing at Walker Sands. How long was that job?
Almost 9 years.
9 years.
Yeah.
And then you moved down here.
Here I am.
Okay. Then you moved down here.
Then I moved here.
And you moved down here. Your parents are down here.
Yeah.
It's too cold in Chicago.
Yeah, I was in Chicago for 10 years, and I really wanted to be a part of a community that I felt like I could make a real impact in.
Yeah.
And when I came to visit Greenville, I was 2 days into my 2-week trip, and I extended to 6 weeks, and I left, after those 6 weeks with an apartment signed downtown on Main Street. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try this. I don't know what's going on with this pandemic thing. Chicago is not itself right now. It will always be my home and the biggest part of me. I've lived there longer than I've ever lived anywhere else. But I really want to try something different. And so Greenville just happened to really align with my values at the time.
Good.
And still today. And honestly, it's the biggest reason I've been able to go out on my own and really see that as an option for me at this time.
I'm trying to remember when you came here, what was your first job here?
Yeah. So
United, was it United Way?
United Way. I was the chief marketing officer at United Way.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you started interviewing?
Absolutely fantastic. So it was really interesting because obviously it was the pandemic and people weren't really hiring. Leaving Walker Sands was obviously a really a hard decision to make. I was on a fast-paced trajectory. We were approaching an M&A season. There were just a lot of opportunities ahead that I could continue to grow in that role, in that capacity. But ultimately had a great conversation with them of, my options were to come down here and maybe go to a Charlotte or Atlanta and open a satellite office and be a managing director of the office. Yeah. And that didn't feel aligned to what I wanted at the time. And even now, I'm very grateful that was an option, but it just didn't feel like exactly what I wanted. So, and I had been at the helm of marketing for the organization for almost 9 years, 8.5 years. And so it didn't feel right to go into a different capacity. And so I was like, you know what, I think now is the time for me to step away. So I, just started searching and just being like, okay, what's available in Greenville? And there was nothing. There was just nothing. Because, nobody was really hiring at that point.
Everyone was like, wait and see, right?
Exactly right. It's like, we're remote. How do we hire someone remote? Like, what do you do? We were still figuring so much out. This is like July 2020 is when I decided to move here. So everybody's still figuring it out. So I, was thinking, okay, maybe I actually just do this thing on my own. I had been supporting businesses on the side for several years. So I thought, okay, let me try that. And then I thought to myself, no, you know what? I'm going to be a part of this community, and it's going to be really difficult for me to come in with outside perspectives and opinions and all of these things and try to join this community and not really understand and be more of an outsider in those ways. So I really wanted to find a role that would help me to assimilate to the area a little bit easier. And it was like I had made that decision. I woke up the next morning, didn't even get out of bed yet, and did a quick Google search, and a VP of marketing role had been posted at United Way like 11 hours prior. Wow. And I was like, whoa, oh my gosh. I immediately reached out, found email addresses because they were available on the site, immediately reached out, and within a couple of weeks was having lunch and coffee with the CEO, Megan Barb. And, that was incredibly fateful for me in moving down here because she provided me the opportunity to meet so many people that would ultimately be how I ended up meeting you and really my entire network that I've been really blessed to grow.
That's very strategic of you, though. And again, I want to just point that out to the listeners who are watching today. Is this didn't happen accidentally. Mm-hmm. It happened accidentally in my favor. I accidentally met you in my favor, but you met me on purpose, meaning that you took a job in a brand new town that would afford you to meet everyone in town. Everyone will talk to United Way, right? Or the YMCA or whatever.
Exactly.
And so you immediately have, because I'll say this. When I was looking for the Noob School, when I was looking for someone to help with social media, I was just like, I tried a few things, it wasn't working. I called, somebody in town with the chamber or whatever next, and I said, tell me the person. I just want you to go ahead and tell me the person who can help me with my social media. I just want, just not a company, a person. And he goes, well, that would be Courtney Beasley. I'm like, all right. And I got your number and we started talking, but you had kind of, how do you go from don't know a soul to you're the top recommendation from the Chamber of Commerce? It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Honestly, that is.
Well, you're good at it for one thing, but
thank you.
the fact that you got that job, I guess, is my point. Is you figured out a way to get to know people.
Yeah.
And if I moved to San Diego, don't know a soul, and took a job with IBM selling software in Northern California, I wouldn't meet a soul in San Diego, right? But if I took a job working for the Padres, selling season tickets or something, I could talk to everybody.
That's right.
Maybe I should do that.
That's right. You'd be really good at selling tickets, I think.
I think I would.
Yeah.
I could live in San Diego too.
Yeah. Well, you could sell ice to an Eskimo, so I think you'd be good at it.
I'll try. So you did the United Way, and then you went to Fuel.
I did get a Fuel. Yeah.
I knew it. So Fuel is probably the best creative little boutique creative company.
I would agree completely. They do such incredible branding and brand strategy work.
Yeah.
Awesome group of people. One of the best groups. Just like wholesome, holistic individuals that you can just have to create excellent work. You want to do great work with. Just a really fun group of people.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved working with them. I was there for a year and a half.
Okay.
And then, it's so interesting because like I mentioned, loved the team, but I was feeling this pull. And it got to a point where I was just in this, internal turmoil for a little while of, I'm feeling like I have to say no to people who are coming to me and asking me to help me with their businesses in a way that the agency wasn't going to be able to service them. They really
too
needed.
Small, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Too small, not a right fit from an industry perspective, different services that they need. They don't actually have someone to help, like from a marketing perspective, is someone like you. You need a marketing arm to come in and help to support you individually. And at the time, that wasn't something that the agency was focused on. I can't speak to now if they're focused in that way, but I had this feeling, I'm like, okay, I'm either going to say no to these businesses that I'm so passionate about and really want to help, or I'm going to go all in on me and just see what's possible.
Right.
And so, I made that decision. I was toying with it really for this entire year. And I made the decision finally in about April of this year. Gave a full 2 months. I was wanted to make sure that a replacement was in place and that they were really in good settings to go forward. So I just really believe in what they're doing.
Yeah.
And did all of that and then stepped away and really wasn't sure at first. I was like, okay, maybe I'm going to test the waters, see what's available, see if there's a, head of marketing somewhere in-house. That's not agency side, but in-house that I could go to and had a couple interviews, had a couple conversations, still kept feeling this pull, like just do it. The network's there, like leap in the net will appear is ultimately something that a mentor and, idol of mine in the marketing space, Kip Knight, told me. And so I did, and it has been exceptional.
Yeah. So I think I met you right in the middle of that. I think you were at Fuel, and you were kind of taking on stuff and thinking about leaving.
That's right, you did.
Did you have, I know you had my business, but did you have enough other business where you felt comfortable, financially leaving at that moment, or was it a risk?
Yeah, no, I did. There was definitely a risk involved, but I was working with you, and I was working with one other company at the time, and had a couple of other people who were knocking on my door.
Yeah.
And so it just felt like, I'll figure it out regardless,
right.
And I had saved up enough, that if I completely fell on my face, I could go and find another job, take a little bit of time and figure out what I wanted to do. So yeah, I tried to put the guardrails in, which would be my recommendation to anyone looking to do this, is if you have the type of role that, of course, you don't want to be competitive, you want to be transparent with your employer as much as needed, in whatever capacity, but to really put some of those guardrails up for yourself before you leave, because it makes it much more comfortable to go all in.
Yeah, we recommend that all the time, Courtney, is that people, they're like, when do I know when I can go start my own thing? I'm like, well, first of all, you need to know what you're doing. Okay, you have to be like you prepared yourself for this with multiple jobs and knowledge. But second of all, ideally, you want that next business to already be preloaded.
Yeah.
You've already got the customers, or you've got contracts, or whatever. There was one thing a while back. My brother worked at a company that sold. They were all like selling direct telecom contracts to businesses, and the company decided. The management said, we're not going to be direct anymore. We're going to be indirect. So all of you are fired, okay? But you can keep the customers and be our channel.
Oh.
So all of a sudden, I'm fired, like I'm my own business.
And you got your own business.
And I'm making 4 times the money.
Wow.
Don't you love big business
pretty
sometimes?
Incredible.
So some
That's
of his
incredible.
friends had these wonderful situations. So that's what we're looking for. Like you say, guardrails. I think, the definition of a guardrail is that you've got the next thing preloaded for you somehow.
Exactly. You don't have nothing.
Yeah.
You're preparing the safety net for yourself. You've got to do, you got to do some of that legwork first.
Well, let's talk about what exactly, like your business now is fractional CMO. And
That's
of course,
right.
that's what you provide the Noob School. In fact, you provided this logo,
I did,
as I recall.
That's right.
Very nice. But if someone's looking for a fractional CMO, say what kind of company is your target and what kind of services they get for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So admittedly, fractional, work, fractional wasn't necessarily a word that I understood in this context, really even prior to leaving the corporate world, or, the agency life. I knew that I was helping businesses, but it wasn't really consulting. And originally I had called myself the Kobe Agency, but I didn't want to be an agency. I don't want to hire people, full-time in order to kind of fulfill all of these different functions. I'll explain how that's a little different. But where I realized that this world of fractional exists, and there are fractional everything, COOs, CFOs, your heads of HR, like all of those pieces, you can fractionalize for your company, which for a certain size of organization, and really, even the larger organizations can, exercise the use of a fractional for particular projects that your CMO doesn't have time to to focus on. So really, it's a strategic partner. It's like I am able to join these teams. I believe in the business. I come in to offer strategic oversight on variety of different areas within an organization, from growth trajectory to sales enablement to brand strategy and the pieces that you need to actually show up in the marketplace. So that's even where our relationship started. As you mentioned, you wanted to go on social, and I was like, great, I think that's absolutely where you need to be, but we need to make sure that people understand what you do, what you provide. So we backed all the way up. We did some audience work. We understood who your brand is, designed the brand, put the website together, and then went to market with some more solid packaging around who it is that you are and what you do, and really getting into some of those key activation pieces now, which is ultimately what I'm able to do for companies. So it can look like so many different things, as it does for all of my companies, but I think the main thing, it's like how it's different from an agency is, I'm truly one person and I'm joining your team. But like an agency, or like, another marketer that you would hire as a head of your marketing department, it's basically a hub and spoke model. I have several spokes that I can pull in. So from a social management perspective, there's people that I can work with that to execute on the strategies that we've put together. Same thing with SEO, content development, video and podcasting, all of those other things. I have excellent partners that help to deliver on that. So depending on the size and scope of the strategy, we can get it done. Yeah.
And speaking as one of your happy customers, I didn't have a strategic marketing person helping me before. I had just different people who would just do what I told them. Like, new website or this or whatever.
Right.
And so with you, one of the things I like is that we'll kind of brainstorm, here's all the ideas of things we need to improve, and then we rank them. And we kind of agree on what the ranking's going to be.
That's right.
And then you tell me, John, I think we can bite off this much this month, based on our fractional arrangement.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think it works great. And for anyone who doesn't have, a full-time, marketing person, I think it's a great thing to consider. So
thank you.
What's the best way to reach you?
LinkedIn or my website. So my website is kobemarketing.com, or it's just Courtney Beasley on LinkedIn.
COBE.
That's right.
Okay.
Marketing, yeah.
Marketing.com.
And it stands for Create, Originate, Build, and Evolve. It's
Okay.
Kobe. Yeah.
Okay.
Even though it is my first and last name as well.
Yeah, I was thinking it was Courtney Beasley. Okay,
It
interesting.
is, but there's some other meaning there.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a few more questions, and
Yeah,
we can
sure.
close out. That's a wonderful story.
Well, thanks.
You want to go with tell us your favorite book?
Ooh, yeah. The Alchemist.
The Alchemist.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that book.
Well, it's an incredible story of life and learning, and how at different phases of your journey, you need different elements and different skill sets and different people to really make it a holistic experience. Life is so short, and
Yeah.
I think it just has so many incredible. It's one of the only books. There's only 2 books I've ever read twice.
Yeah.
Not a big reader. I'm a big listener. But that is one of the only books I've ever read twice. And it just, at every time of life that I've reread it, and I'm definitely due to read it again.
Yeah.
But every time that I've read it, I get something completely different out of it.
Yeah. Life does go by fast, and you don't really believe that till you get older.
Oh, yeah.
When you're younger, people tell you like, old man, what are you talking about? Yeah, I remember like it was yesterday, college graduation and leaving in your car and leaving the college, and now I've got 6 grandkids. What happened?
Isn't that wild?
I don't know what happened.
Gosh.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is. You
So,
blink in it.
Yeah, I do have a huge appreciation that I've gained, I guess, in the last couple of years of really looking at every day as a lifetime.
Yeah.
This is the lifetime today.
Yeah.
Yesterday's doesn't matter anymore. Tomorrow, who knows? But this is our lifetime.
Yeah. It's so interesting you say that, and this is what we do. This is how we spin off on our tangents.
We were supposed to cover the agenda.
We always get back to the agenda, though. We do have that. As you know, I just got a puppy.
Yes.
And I know Theodore.
Yeah.
Yeah, my little English bulldog. Couldn't be cuter. But it's so interesting that you say that, because I'm a little older in life to not yet be married and not have children, but having this puppy, it's so interesting because you consider every day of their life is like a week in hours from a timeline perspective. And you think also about the concept that like they are a portion of our lives, but we are their whole lives.
Yes.
And it really helps you to, like, for me, it's been such a gift to slow down because being someone who, I have a phenomenal partner who's beyond supportive.
Yeah.
Could not do what I do, honestly, without him. But beyond that, like, I don't have a lot of those functions that require my time outside of, my clients and how I choose to spend that time. And so it's been really eye-opening, just being able to pause and roll around on the floor and play with a puppy for a little bit during the day.
That's wonderful.
Like, it's really changed things for me.
That's wonderful.
And I know it's a
Well, I'm
puppy,
good.
so.
You're picking up on this one day at a time thing faster than I did. That's good.
I have great people to learn from, like you too.
Okay, so someone, Chicago girl, what's your favorite band?
Oh no, yeah.
Not Journey, is it?
Listen, I do love me some Journey. I did a cover of "Don't Stop Believing"
Really?
once in college. I'll see
Really?
if I can pull it up for you. Yeah, we worked it into a song that I was a part of a band in college. In
Nice.
college, I sing.
Yeah.
Gosh, band. I'm more of like a solo artist, gal myself, and my taste in music spans significantly.
Yeah.
But Beyonce is my girl.
Okay.
I just really love what she's done for music and for women and music. And
She's got a tude.
she does have a tude.
Yeah.
She does have a tude. But I think she's incredibly talented.
Good. Well, I know we've got the Kobe, COBE agency.com. That's your website, and people can talk to you about getting help with marketing, fractional
That's
marketing
right.
folks. It certainly worked for me. So is there anything else you want to promote?
No, I think that's it. Well, your business,
Yeah,
Noob School.
the Noob School. That's right. She knows a lot about the Noob School.
I do.
I'll say that.
I sure do. Yeah. It's a great program for any business who's looking to grow.
Yeah.
It
Well,
really
yeah, I
is.
guess I'm trying to do the same thing on the sales side you're doing on the marketing side.
That's right.
You know, jump in there and help them.
100%. There's
Yeah.
a lot of similarities in how you and I operate.
We should merge.
Listen,
Let's
I don't
do
know
it.
if the world's ready.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I
Thank you,
appreciate
John.
it. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks so much for
All right.
having me.
Thank you.